So how long have you been into 3D?
You wouldn't believe this, but it's only been a month since I had my printer, and it's been about 3 months. I did my research and learned how to design kind of. So not that long, probably altogether about 3 months,
We
almost 3 months.
well, I've seen some of your work, so that you're right. You are a quick learner.
Yes. Thank you.
Well, believe it or not, you do have me beat, but I've only been involved with 3D for, I've been designing for maybe like 4 or 5 months. So,
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's like me. I'm trying to learn the ins and outs. So I'm very new.
so what up to this point, what have you primarily used for design work?
I use Tinkercad. I use Canvas somewhat or either Victorize, but mostly Tinkercad and just the bamboo. But I want to learn how to, since I've been meeting you, how to learn how to do it in Bamboo Studio because I find that's interesting. That's more. It's like you taking shortcut. You cutting out 3, 4 steps by just doing it that way. And
Hmm.
Inkscape, you cutting out a lot of steps too because it's a vectorized. So and it's quicker. So I was like, okay, let me learn Inkscape.
Hmm. All right.
I
Well,
like to work smart, not harder.
there you go. That's what it's about. When I started, several months ago, it's kind of funny that you said that you've only had your printer a month. I did the same thing. I watched so many videos before I even bought a printer. I
Yes.
mean,
Yes.
I watched so many videos, and I was in Micro Center one day for something else, and it was actually for my soldering gun. I was doing some LED lights and I needed some soldering gun pieces. So I went into Micro Center and they happened to have a deal on a Creality 3D printer. And so I bought it, brought it home, and printed out a Benchy. No issues whatsoever. Downloaded a couple MakerWorld files, printed those out, and then I got so frustrated with the slicer. I didn't know anything about slicing designs, and so I literally just packed it up, and it sat in the corner for like a year. I never touched it.
And that's me because I was like, okay, I gotta learn bamboo slices, like what settings, the earning and stuff, because to me that's more important is the learning. And that's why I did it that way. I didn't want to get into some spend six, seven, eight, $900 and just to be sitting on the shelf. That's too
Hmm.
much money. So I said, let me learn how to do this first. And another thing to see if I even like this, that ain't just wasting money because everybody say, oh, let's 3D print. Nah, that's not how I operate.
Hmm. Well, you know that to actually make money 3D printing, that's not an easy task.
No, it's
That's another whole thing. Actually trying to make money. But so what happened? What got me back into 3D printing is I was making these LED lights, and I needed a spacer. And I was on one of the groups I belonged to, and they're like, "Oh, you could 3D print those," and I'm like, "Damn, you're right, I could." And so I was like, "You know what? I'm just gonna go get me a bamboo A1 with the combo, and I'm gonna figure it out." And sure enough, I figured it out in a short time. And so I've not had any issues with my bamboo A1. I really like that printer. Um,
that was smart.
Slicer works like my brain works. But then when I started getting into the design part of it, I watched a million videos. And of course, I started with Tinkercad mindset because that's what everybody was saying to use. But then as I was watching those Tinkercad videos, I'm like, wait a minute, I can do all this in bamboo. What? And I'm creating the SVG in Inkscape because I didn't have Silhouette Studio, and I had been using Inkscape for years. It's like, yeah, I could just use Inkscape and then just use Bamboo to do the extrusions and don't really need Tinkercad at all.
And that's what I was doing. I was joining a lot of groups, listening to a lot of people. But one thing I did learn throughout everybody helping you, and also you still have to do your own research, put in time doing your own homework like anything else. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay. It's to me, people like a starting point. But if you're not learning, then it don't make sense.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the other thing too is, people say, "Oh, I'll just go to YouTube." Yeah, you can go to YouTube and you can see a lot of really great information, but you also see a lot of really bad information.
Yes.
And sometimes it's hard to differentiate between the two, you know. So it was just kind of interesting, but once I really got into it, I was like, man, I don't understand why anyone would use Tinkercad because it's so much more streamlined with Inkscape
And
and Bamboo.
more that I was watching you and watching different stuff, I learned that certain stuff is like was so much easier as you was doing it. And I was like, wow. So instead of doing 3, 4 steps, you could just get one thing and do it one way. And that's what impressed me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
So,
definitely an interesting process.
so I was like, okay, you need to learn how to do certain stuff and learn the right way. But the point is, it's like getting somebody to really know what they doing in order for you to really get affected or what you need out of it.
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. Well, I will just dive into this project and work our way through it.
Okay.
Um, so, do you have any Inkscape knowledge at all up to this point?
I played with it just a little bit the other day. I did my settings. I followed your one that you was doing with a guy, and I was doing certain stuff like that.
Okay, so you're fairly
I'm
pretty new.
brand new. I'm gonna say I'm
Okay,
totally brand new.
all right. I'll try to go kind of slow. So the first thing we want to make sure that we know how to do is make sure your Inkscape is set up similar to mine. We want to be able to zoom in and out with our wheel mouse. Are you able to do that? Did you go through the steps of setting that up?
I did all that.
You did.
Hmm.
And then your keyboard shortcut of Alt Q to switch between outline and normal mode. That's taken care of.
Yes, I did that.
And all these tabs over here on the right hand side, do you understand how to get to these tabs? So in my case, I have my layers and objects is my first tab, and then fill and stroke, and then our alignment and our path effects. Those are the main ones that we use all the
Yes.
time.
And the way yours set up, that's how I set mine up.
Yeah, and you can drag and drop and change the order of those tabs if you want to.
Yes, you just
So
click on it, hold it, and move it back and forth wherever you need it to go.
perfect. All right. Well then, yes,
I'll
you're
really quick.
yeah, you're a step ahead. Okay. So what I thought we would do is maybe um, being how you are brand new, is we would start with this project, and we would uh, the first step would be, and I don't know exactly how much time we'll have, but what I thought we would do is walk through this project entirely in Inkscape,
Okay.
and then obviously convert it into a 3D model over in Bamboo, and then if time permits. Um, we can take a look at, you see how this base is, it's got like some curvature to it and stuff, and also this top plate as well. We could take that into Blender and make the base a little bit fancier. But
Uh, I don't see anything. I just see a cake
oh,
string. I'm
you're
sorry.
right, I did I forgot the critical step here.
I'm like, I don't see anything.
There you go, now you can see it.
Okay.
So anyhow, you see how the base is here, how it's got, kind of this curvature to it. Um, we can look at how to do that in Blender to kind of make it a little bit fancier.
Okay.
But like I said, I thought we'd just start with Inkscape here and kind of walk through it a little bit, and then we can go from there. So in regards to the candle holder, is there a certain size candle holder you want it to hold?
I use a bunch of Bath and Body Work candles.
And do you know what the diameter of those are?
I could look it up real quick on Google.
All of mine are, well, I shouldn't say all of them, but most of mine are 4-inch jar candles.
And they probably the same. Here, I just pulled one up real quick. What's the dimension on this?
I was blown away by your angel wings. I was so proud of you because I didn't think you were going to light them up.
Oh,
And
thank you.
and then when I saw them lit up, I was like, oh, she took the extra step and actually lit up her wings.
I like different stuff. If you notice, I didn't want to do everything everybody else was already doing. I just like thinking out of the box and doing my own thing. Once I get the basics, then I just go from that point.
I don't know. Are you a member of the 3D Print Boss too?
No.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Society 3D,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I am.
Did you see Ani's headstone lamp that used those wings? Do you remember that one?
Yes, I remember that one.
Yeah. Well, yeah, she showed me a picture when she got it all put together with the wings lit up, and of course it turned out really pretty also. And so yeah, so I was glad to see uh, that you lit up those wings because they do look real pretty. That was a nice little touch.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was like, what can I do for my work to stick out? Because the one thing I don't want to do, if I'm learning in class and y'all have something, I don't want to print the same thing y'all have. Because to me, how would y'all know that I did it or how y'all know I'm learning? So I said, in order for me to do that is to do something different so y'all can know, hey, she's actually learning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm trying to find the dimensions. For some reason, I'm on Bath and Body Work, but they're not giving me the dimensions of the candle. I guess I gotta ask Google now. Check it. Okay. Okay, it say there are 14 by 5 ounce 3 wicks counter. They are 4 inches in width and 3.5 inches in height.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. They were probably a 4-inch candle. All right. Well, that will kind of dictate to us how big, um, you know, this whole unit's going to be. What my thought is for the center section. Um, you mentioned making a lithophane, but also if we just wanted to use a photograph, right?
Yes.
I was thinking that this center portion would fit a 5x7 photo. So that was my target size. So what we'll do
a lot for that, because even in Christmas time, if you want to make that into a floating ornament in the inside of that with the liquid, that would be nice to be able to put that in the inside of that. You could do a lot with that hole.
Yeah. And I don't know, have you seen those things? I don't know what they're called, but they make them out of wood, but they also make it out of PLA. But especially the wood ones, like if you go on Etsy, they have like several layers, right? So you'll have like Christmas trees, and then in front of that will be like a little deer, and then in front of that, but they're
Yes,
like
that's what I was talking about. I don't know what they call them, but that's
like a kind of like a shadow box.
I think they call them either shadow box or snowfalls or something like that.
But yeah, so you've got that the illusion of depth, and then they light it up. So yeah, there's a lot of different.
That's what I was talking about. That would be real nice for us Christmas stuff like that. You could do so much with that hole.
Yeah,
and that's the way I was thinking, like do Christmas stuff in the inside of like a shuttle box and light it up.
Yep, definitely. So what we have to do is kind of think about, firstly, how this would be 3D printed, and how are we going to get to what we need to get to. So some of it we just have to make up in our brain, and it may not make sense here in Inkscape, but surely when we get to Bamboo, it'll all kind of click. So the first thing I'm going to do is here in Inkscape is draw out a circle. So we can grab our circle tool here over here on the left. And if we click and drag and hold down our control key, that will constrain it to a perfect circle. And what I'm going to start with is this very front bezel right there, the very front bezel. So this circle, I'm going to make it 5 inches in diameter. So if I switch over to my selection tool, are you a keyboard shortcuts gal? Where you like to use keyboard shortcuts?
Yes, as I learn them, I do.
Yeah. All right. Well, E is ellipse or circle here in Inkscape, and S is your selection tool. So those two, the S, E, and R, which is your selection tool, your circle tool, and your rectangle tool. R is for rectangle. So those three, are good ones to remember right off the top. But if we select our circle up here, we have our lock icon. So if we change our width, our height will automatically change with it. So we're just going to go to 5. And we're not going to do 5 millimeters. We have to do 5 inches, which is 125. So 125 millimeters is roughly 25 millimeters to an inch. It's not quite that. It's really 25.4, but 25 for close measure. So that is now a 5-inch circle, more or less. And then we have this offset right here. So when we're applying an offset here in Inkscape, we have to duplicate the original object. So we're going to just hit Control D. Please duplicate that way too. So if you come over here, you see now we have 2 circles. And that front circle, I just click any old spot here, give it any old color. So when we offset it, we'll be able to see it. And I don't really know exactly how much to offset this, but I'm going to just come here. This is your path effects tool. And if we come that down arrow there, we could choose offset. And let's offset it. 12 millimeters would be a 1/2 inch. So more or less. So I'm just going to go 8. But we have to enter -8 because I want to offset to the inside. So now you can see that that circle is a little bit smaller, and you can kind of see how that kind of matches what we got going on over here, right? So this white circle, go back here to our layers palette just to make sure what we got. We've got our white circle, and then we have this kind of pinkish circle. I'm going to duplicate my white circle because we're going to need another copy of it. And I'll just drag and drop it down to the bottom of the layer stack and just turn it off. When I'm not working with a particular part, I like to turn it off so I don't get confused as to what's what here. So then we're going to take the smaller circle, and then we're going to shift click the bigger circle, and we're going to perform an operation. We've got 2 choices here. We could hit Control minus, which would cut it, right? So now we've cut a hole. Or we could hit Control K, and that combines it. So you see, and then when you have a path inside of another path and we combine them, then we automatically get a hole. So either way.
So path combining is pretty much joining it together.
So if we yes, the short answer is yes.
Okay.
But there are times where, for example, we don't want to use union. So if we come up here to path, so that's what we just did. We did a union, which is the Control plus, and then we also did a combine, which is the Control K. And a lot of people ask, well, where would you use one over the other? Well, anytime, generically speaking, anytime that we have a path within a path, which we did in this particular case, we would typically want to use combine. Now, we can, in this particular case, we could use difference and it would do the same thing. But generally speaking, if you have a path within a path, we would use combine. Otherwise, we would just use union. So at any rate, that first piece is now complete, right? We have that first bezel that we needed. So we can go ahead and just turn that off, and then we'll turn back on our original here. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to make the sides of this big circle here. That's the next part of the puzzle. So we have to make those sides. And so how are we going to do that? Well, typically I would make those 2 millimeters. You could maybe make it 3. You could make the thickness whatever you want it to be. But 2 or 3 millimeters is probably sufficient. It'll be fairly sturdy. So it shouldn't, in this case, I think we're going to make it 4 millimeters only because we're going to have a heavy candle on it. So I think giving it a little bit of thickness, extra thickness, probably not a bad thing. So we have our original circle here, and we're going to right click and duplicate it. And then we're going to give it a different color. Doesn't matter what color, just a different color, because now we're going to offset that 4 millimeters. So of course we have to enter it as a negative because we're offsetting to the inside. And so that will give us something like that. So we're going to do the same kind of thing. We can select our pink, shift click the white. And we can do control minus, or we could have done combine, either one. That will get the job done. So it's probably not a bad idea at this point to go ahead and rename our parts. So for this, we can double click on our layer name, and we'll call this sides. And then this one, this will be front bezel, something like that.
And how do you open up this panel when you first start?
This panel here on the right?
Yes.
Well, it should be open automatically. Now it could be like that.
It is.
And you see those three little buttons right there?
Got you.
You can just drag it out.
Okay.
All right, so now we have to take our sides and we're going to duplicate those, and then we'll turn off our sides. Because what we have to do is we have to create a back panel. So on your wings, how the wings had a back panel?
Yes.
And they had a little bit of a flange? Well, we have to create that for our light box. Otherwise, it would be exposed in the back. So the first thing we're going to do is take our ring here, and we're going to go to path and break apart. And then we can go into outline mode, which is the keyboard shortcut, Alt-Q. And we're going to delete that interior path because we don't need it. So we're kind of back to our original white circle that we began the whole process with. So what I want to do here is I want to create the flange. So this is going to become our back plate, but now I need to create the flange. Now, if you remember, we came in 4 millimeters on our sides. So we're going to take our white circle and duplicate it, right click and duplicate, give it a color, and we're going to offset. We have to offset more than 4. So usually what I do for my flanges is I would offset 1 extra millimeter. So we hit offset, and we're going to do a negative value, and we're going to do negative 4.1. And that's just going to offset 4.1. And when I'm satisfied with that, I'm going to go to path and object to path. And what that does is that kind of sets that offset value. Until we do that, we can modify the amount of offset there. So now I'm going to make my flange. So we're going to duplicate this again. So right click and duplicate, give it a different color. Doesn't matter what color. But now our offset here is going to be 2. Usually the flanges I make 2 millimeters thick. So -2. And so now if we zoom in here, you can see what we got going on here. So we're going to take this magenta, shift click the pink, Control minus. So that piece now becomes our flange. Okay.
Okay.
This piece here, this original white circle, we're just going to move it all the way down here, and we're going to call this back plate. And let's turn off our back plate, and let's turn on our sides. You see that little gap?
Yes.
So when you put the wings on the back, that's essentially what we have. It's just that little bit of space. So they kind of fit snugly, right? So they'll push in there, but not so snug that it's hard to get in and out. That should be the proper amount of space that we need to be able to put the back on. So I think what we should do is go ahead and go into Bamboo and build the model up to the point where we're at right now, and then we can finish off by putting on the top and putting on the base. So what we're going to do is turn everything on. So we have our back plate and our sides, the front bezel, and then the flange here. So we'll go ahead and save this. I don't know what we're going to call it. Let's see here. Let's call it Candle Litho. Now, did you follow along on your end with all these?
Yes, I'm gonna go back. I'm just taking notes, but I'm gonna go back and show you a video of me actually doing it.
Okay, no worries. All right, sounds good. Okay, so that's where we're at now. Like I said, sometimes it's helpful to visualize, what we're actually making, as we make it. So now we'll go into Bamboo here. If we look at this image, this top plate is roughly the same width as this centerpiece, right? So this top piece that's going to hold our candle is going to be 5 inches in diameter, and our candle is 4 inches. So that, that should work out real good. That should work out perfectly for that. All right, so here we are in Bamboo. Let's go ahead and create a new project. And let's go ahead and import. So we hit Control I, go to our desktop here, and there's our Candle Litho. Okay, so we know when we bring in an SVG, it takes on whatever the very first color is. That's why everything's blue, and it always comes in 10 millimeters thick. And in Bamboo, when we go to objects, the list of our objects right here, we have 4 objects. It's backwards of what it is in Inkscape. So this first piece is our backplate, and I like to name them. And then the next piece is our sides. And then the next piece will be our front bezel. And then our last piece is our flange. And if we ever get confused as to what's what, we can always refer back to Inkscape and find out, how they're stacked in Inkscape. So you see the back plate is the first one, and then sides, front bezel, flange. Well, if we go back into Inkscape, you'll see it's backwards. The back plate is at the bottom, then sides, front bezel, and flange.
Okay. So,
like I said, if you're dealing with a more complicated project and you ever get lost, just refer back to Inkscape and you find your way back. So for this project, what we'll do is we'll start with our sides. I usually always start with whatever the biggest piece is going to be, the biggest piece off the build plate. So in this case, it's going to be our sides. and our sides will be, we'll start with 75. I don't really know exactly how deep it's going to be. 75, of course, is 3 inches. So we'll start there. We might decide to make it a little deeper, but we'll go to the scale tool and we'll turn off uniform scale, and we'll just go to the Z value of 75. So you can see that's how deep that will be. Now keep in mind that our disc that's going on top of this is going to be 5 inches in diameter. So that's the same width as this circle.
Okay.
And then, so we've got our sides at 75. Our back plate is going to be 2. And it needs to sit on our build plate. So we would go to our move tool. And do you understand the Z's? I know we talked a lot about it in class and stuff, but do you understand how the Z works here in Bamboo? The X, Y, and Z is always from the center of the object. So if you look here, you can kind of, it's in the center of the object. So our back plate is 2. So if I want that to sit on my build plate, the Z height,
correct that the Z height, right?
Yeah, the Z height has to be 1.
1/2 inch. Okay.
Yeah. Because then that would put the bottom of that back plate on the build plate. And then our front bezel, we're going to make that 2. And the front bezel is going to sit on top. So if our sides, right? Yeah, if our sides are 75, then we just add 1.
Yes.
So
you
that would
divide it in half, and then you add. Yep. If it's at the top, you go up, and if it's at the bottom, you subtract.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now it is sitting right on top of my 75 millimeter sides.
Told y'all attention in class, Kevin.
Yeah, definitely. And then finally, our flange. Our flange, I usually make those 12. That's a 1/2 inch. And what that does is when we put on the back, just like you did when you put on the back of your wings, there's just enough meat there. There's just enough friction to hold the back plate on. That's one thing when we use the Maker Lab Lightbox Maker, the flange that makes, it's not very thick. And so when you put your back plate on, it doesn't usually stay put. But I didn't realize it until a while later that was changeable. Like we can click that flange and make it thicker. And so now I do that by default. But because this is 12, I want this to print on the build plate. So we'll go to the move tool and make it 6. So that now our back will be removable. And then we've got this flange up top here. So that's it. That's essentially our box. Now we will walk through the process of setting up the print plates and how we're going to print this out when we get there. But that is a good starting point there.
So I have a question just to make understanding this. If you want to put it on a build plate, you subtracted what it was in half, and that makes it go down. And if you want to put it on top, you dividing it into, but you adding it to the number that's already there to go above.
Right. So in this case, so for example, our sides, let me make our sides a different color just so we can see this more clearly. So our sides are 75. Okay. Yeah. And so in this case, we took the bezel and that is at 76. So if I go to the move tool, you see that's at 76, right?
Yeah.
And because I wanted my bezel to sit on top of my sides. Now, and this is 2 millimeters. So that's why we only added 1. We always divide in half.
Okay.
But what if I wanted the top portion of my bezel to be at 75? Well, in that case, then we would subtract. So we would make it 74. And now you could see that my bezel is now flush with my 75 millimeter sides.
Okay.
So it just kind of depends on if you want it, if you absolute 75 or if you want it on top.
So if you want it flush, you subtract, and then if you want it above, you add into it.
Exactly. Yep.
Gotcha.
So we'll go ahead and put that back to 76 because I want it above. All right. So that's a good start there. So now we'll come back over here and we can scrutinize this top here. So you see how this has like a little piece there, almost like a little neck, so to speak?
Yes.
So we'll go ahead and add that. The other advantage to making our sides 4 millimeters thick, it allows us to cut into our sides a little bit. So probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this little neck, but I'm going to print it separately from this piece anyhow. So we'll want a little indentation to know exactly where that neck is supposed to go. So proportionately here, I'm going to say that's maybe 2 inches. So I just hit the R key on my keyboard. We'll drag out a rectangle, switch over to my selection tool, and for the width, we'll do 50. 50 is 2 inches, and just take a look and see, do I like that? Do I not like that? That's okay.
Inches because you're going by quarter. Each inch is a quarter, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So I think that's maybe a little bit too wide proportionally. If you look at how wide this looks and then how wide that looks, this looks wider. So I'm going to just back that off to 37.5, which is 1.5 inches. And that looks a little bit better. So now I'm going to take my rectangle and shift click any one of these. It doesn't really matter which one. We'll come over here to our alignment tools. And we want to make sure that relative to last selected is selected. And then we can click on this, which will align left to right here, this one right here. And then we can just kind of bring this rectangle straight down. If we want to move straight up and down, you just hold the control key, or straight left and right, the control key will allow you to do that. All right, so that's what that looks like now. Let's see here. I'm going to turn off some things. I'm going to turn off our flange and our front bezel and our sides. We're just going to have the back plate on here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and adjust the height of this. I'm going to say we're going to do something like this. And really, we're not going to be actually creating this piece in Inkscape. We just kind of have this placeholder, if you will, that we're going to use. So this here, we're going to make a smaller version of this by maybe 2 millimeters. So we're going to go ahead and duplicate it. So right click and duplicate. And then we're going to go ahead and offset it by 2. So we have to enter it as a negative. And let's give it a color. And we're going to call this, we're going to call it cutter. And I'll explain later how we're going to utilize that. But we just, actually, this actually needs to be 1, not 2. We just want to offset that 1. And the reason I kind of forgot is it's doubled, because we have 1 millimeter here on the left and 1 millimeter here on the right. So we just want to do 1 millimeter there. That'll be sufficient. So we'll go ahead and path and object to path. So this piece we're going to make in bamboo because it's going to be a round cylinder.
Okay.
So this piece we probably don't technically need, so we'll go ahead and get rid of that. Actually, let's bring that back because we do need it for the bottom. So let's go ahead and just move this to the bottom, and now we're going to make our bottom base. Get that figured out. So we're going to create different levels for the base, and these are just going to be rectangles. So we'll grab our rectangle tool, drag out a rectangle, and it's going to be 5 inches wide or 125 millimeters. So that's our first one, and then we have to decide how thick we want it to be. So, and we're just basically doing this as a visual. We're actually going to make these circles in bamboo, but we're just going to kind of sketch it out here in Inkscape. So, so this piece,
How it's gonna look.
yeah, just to get a visual, get our thicknesses figured out. So maybe that first one we'll start at 10 mil, something like that. We'll go 125. And then our next one, we'll go ahead and make it a little bit thicker. So we're going to duplicate it. I have my snapping turned on up here in the corner. And then that will allow me to snap those two together. And then we're going to make this next one thicker. So maybe, I don't know, 14, something like that. You know, obviously you can make it whatever you want. And then this one is 125. So maybe we'll make this one, let's try 100. And then we'll center these two up. So shift click the bottom one and then center. Yep. And then let's go one more. So we're going to duplicate it again. And then this time, let's go back to only 8 tall. That'll snap. We'll give it a different color. And this one, we did a 25 millimeter step back. So we'll do the same thing, 75. Shift click and center it. Okay, so that's kind of, sort of
Nice.
what the bottom is going to look like.
Okay. But we just
Now,
bamboo doing on the cylinders to make it round.
right. So now we know that we need a 8 millimeter cylinder. That's that is 125, then 100 by 14, then 75 by 8. So now we have this top disc to make, and the top disc is going to be the same diameter. Like I said, this to me looks like it's about the same size. So this top disc is going to be the same size. So we're going to take that white one and copy it and paste it. And this one is 125, so that's 5 inches. So imagine, just for a visual here, we're going to duplicate this one and just bring it up here. And then this, we're going to duplicate it. So that's kind of sort of what we're making.
Nice.
So that's gonna hold our candle up top. So so we're looking straight down, and we've got this. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna offset this. So we're gonna duplicate it, give it a different color, and then we're gonna come here to offset. And then we have to determine how much we want to offset. Well, I think 8 millimeters is going to be sufficient. So this is, the overall width of this is 5 inches. So if we come in 8 and come in 8, what that's going to leave us is roughly 4.5. It's not quite 4.5, but it's pretty close. A couple of millimeters off. If we came in 6 and 6, we would be at 4.5. But let's just try 8 and see what it looks like. -8. Maybe we should just do -6. we just want a small lip there. So let's do -6. Okay, that'll be fine. So then that does leave us 4.5 inches in between. So our 4-inch candle will fit perfectly. So for this, then what we want is two of these white circles. So I need to select this white circle and duplicate it, Control D. And let's just move it towards the bottom here. So what I need to do now is take the red circle and shift click the white, and we're going to do Control minus. Let's give it a different color. So now that right there, there's two pieces. We have this piece and this piece is going to make up our plate. So we double it up there. This will make more sense when we get into bamboo. So those are all of our pieces now. I'm going to go ahead and save it. Okay. And now we can go back into bamboo. And I know we already did all this, but for practice, we're just going to get rid of it. And we're going to start brand new again because it's not that complicated to do. So maybe the first thing we'll do before we bring in our artwork is let's go ahead and create our base. So we're going to right click and add a primitive cylinder. And our cylinder here was 8 millimeters thick, and it was 125 was our base. So there's our first step right there. So that's step one. And then the next one, we'll go ahead and add another cylinder, and it was 14, but only 100 by 100. So there's that one. And then we'll add another one. And this one was back to 8. And it was 75 and 75.
Yep.
Okay. So that now we have our cylinders here. And we can go ahead and select these. So you either shift select them all, or we can just select one and then control click the others and then right click and merge. Okay. So now what we can do is if we want to, we could just select all these and then we can use our align and distribute, align left, right, and center. Kind of does it. Then we'll go ahead and do it the other way, front, back, and center. So now those are all stacked up on one another. And if we want to, we can just go and do the math. I really think it's a smart idea to learn the math.
I like the math. I actually like it that way.
It makes the process. Sometimes it's
that's
not,
how I'm teaching myself the way the math part, because I actually like it that way.
Yeah. So these are all merged into an assembly now. So now we can move it off the build plate. We can't move anything off the build plate unless it is part of an assembly. So that first one is 8. And then our next one is 14. Half of 14 is 7. So we would add that to the 8. And then that's how we put it on top. Okay. So that becomes 15. Okay. So then what we have to do is we have to calculate. I think I grabbed the wrong one too. I think it's this one. This one is supposed to be 15. There we go. Yes. You see how that works. So then the last one here, this one. So that one has to go on top of everything. So, but we have to add up all the values. So the bottom one is 8. And this one is 14. And then this one is 8. So half of 8 is 4. So you see, like if you're not like totally solid with the numbers, you don't have to be. So we could just move this up an arbitrary amount, doesn't matter. And then we can always use the assembly tool as our escape plan. So we're going to select this face. So like when you're using Tinkercad, you know how you have work planes. This would become the work plane. And then we would pick that face. We want to match those two. And then you can just zero it out. And essentially does the same thing as setting the work plane and Tinkercad does. So that takes care of that. Now, we don't have our little connector neck piece made. So we got to do that still. So we can go ahead and alt click on this circle and we could just hit Control C and Control V. That will duplicate it. And then we can resize this. So we'll go to scale. The neck we decided was going to be 37.5, the little connector piece. So 37. You know, it could be oval. It doesn't necessarily have to be circular. But in this case, we're going to make it circular. And then, I don't know. I don't really know exactly how tall it's going to be just yet. But that is essentially what the base would look like.
Okay.
We could give these different colors. You know, we could do different things. We could definitely make this look a lot nicer in Blender, that's for sure. So that's step one. So let's go ahead and we'll create a new build plate, and then we'll go ahead and take a look at bringing in our artwork again. So there's our artwork again. Now we really don't need these pieces at the bottom, so we can go ahead and get rid of those. And all I'm doing is alt clicking on those and hitting the delete button. And same thing up here, we can go ahead and get rid of those because we really don't need them. Now over here, we'll start here because I think this is the simplest. What I like to do is, this is all part of an assembly. And I really need this to be separate from this anyhow. So to do that, I just copy and make a duplicate. So I just hit Control C, Control V. And then what I want to do is I want to delete all of this stuff over here. So I can select this and we can find out what is what here. So for example, what is this piece by alt clicking on it? So you see that is number 3. Let's see here. And number 1. 3 and 1 over here. Now, I think I might have screwed up. Possibly. Let me take a look at this. I think we did. So let's delete that. Because, go back over here, we have a bunch of pieces that are hidden that we need. So let's go ahead and turn those on. And as long as we're here, let's go ahead and turn these off. We don't need these in our drawing. So we'll go ahead and turn all that off. And I had all of this stuff turned off. Let's see here. Let's go back. So yes. Now I have all the pieces I need. So we'll just resave it. And go back into Bamboo here. All right. So copy and paste. Control C, Control V, make a duplicate. And I want to find out what these two pieces are. So that is piece 5 and, let's see, 5 and 6. No. 5 and what? 5 and 1. Okay, so it's 5 and 1. So what we can do is we can delete everything else but 5 and 1. So over here on the Objects tab, we can do 2, 3, 4, and 6. We don't need those pieces. So that's separate. And then over here, we know we can get rid of 5 and 1. So now we have 2 split assemblies. So I'm going to go ahead and add another build plate. We'll put this over here. So let's build this first. This is the piece that's going to actually hold our candle. So our bottom is going to be 4 millimeters thick, and its Z height should be 2. And then our ledge here, let's make it, let me think here. Let's make it at least 12. Let's see what 12 looks like. So its move tool, so we're going to do 12 thickness, but then it should be at 6. Let's just visually see what that looks like. Yeah, that looks good. So that's going to be our little lip. When we put in our candle, we'll have that little lip, and that's going to be, obviously sitting on top over there. All right. Then back over here. So now we just have to rebuild this. So let's go ahead and set. We have our back plates, our sides, and don't know what that piece is. Oh yeah, that's the front bezel.
That's the front.
Yep. And then our flange. And then that piece is going to be a future cutter. We'll show you what that does later on. Okay. I wish in Bamboo, we could turn things off and on, the visibility of things, because we can in Creality Print. You can, that's one nice thing. There's like a little button here. We can just click and hide different parts of the model in Creality Print. So that's a nice little touch. And I wish it would give us the division value down here. So, if we had a piece, it would automatically tell us what the dimension is half, because we use that so much. But all right, so our back plate is going to be 4 again. Or did we do 2 last time? Maybe we did 2.
We did 2.
Yeah. So then our Z height should be 1. And then our sides should be 75.
75.
But I always get that mixed up. That's the thickness. And
Yep.
then our Z height would be 37.5. And then our front bezel is going to be 2 millimeters thick.
2.
And then, so it's going to be at 76. And then our flange is going to be 12 thickness. So then its Z height is going to be 6.
6.
Okay, so there we go. So now we have that put back together again. So now we can go ahead and put this right on top here. So for this, let's go ahead. It is centered, so that's good. We're going to copy and paste this. We're going to rotate it. And then we're going to go ahead and this does have to be sitting over the plate a little bit. So let's make sure it is over the plate. And then we're going to right click and center it. And so now that's centered on there. And then let's go ahead and move this in the Z. So to do that, we're going to have to merge these together. So we have that assembly. Let's see, where's our other one? There's our other one right here. Control click them both. And then we can right click and merge right here, or you can do it over here. You do have to be over geometry though. You can't right click and merge way out here in space. So you have to be over geometry and then merge. And then we'll use our objects panel to select just the pieces that we want to move vertically. So not the cylinders, obviously, but everything else we want to move vertically. So we select our first piece, shift select our last piece, go to the move tool, and move. Now you see how you could see that through. we're just going to move it up. So we can kind of just do that by eye. But now you see how this is.
It's floating.
It's interacting there.
Yes.
So that's good. That's what we want. Now, let's see here. How do I want to do this? All right, let's select everything again. And hopefully I can make this make sense. I'm not sure it even makes sense in my brain. Let's go ahead. I'm going to spin this around. And I'm going to deliberately see how that's showing through, just barely. So I want you to see this. So you see how that's just barely showing through?
Yes.
So what we want to do is we have that mysterious cutter piece. And this is a part that can get a little confusing, but we have this cutter piece. So there's our cutter right there. And what we're going to do is we're going to scale that cutter piece. So we're going to hit our scale here. And we're going to drag that blue just like that. Okay. Like I said, this is the part you just kind of have to use your imagination right now. What's actually transpiring. So I want to take this cutter and I want to cut that vertical pipe. That's what I ultimately want to cut. But I can't because we have other stuff in the way. And so I do this quite often when I'm doing booleans. There's other geometry that if I were to go into Mesh Boolean right now, there's other geometry that would be cut in the process. And I don't want that. So we're going to have to move that geometry out of the way before we can cut that one piece. So we'll go ahead and select this assembly. We don't want any of the cylinders selected, but the back plate, the sides, the front bezel, the flange, I want to move all that stuff out of the way. So we're going to go to the Move tool, and you see here it says in the Y it's 128. I'm going to just add like a ridiculous number, like 6, for example. So now it's 628. And so when I do that, you can see what's happened. Those pieces that I do not want to be Booleaned are way out in space. So they're way away from what we're doing here. And so now we're just left, we can cut that perfectly the way we want. So let's go ahead and do it. So we select this and go into Mesh Boolean. And we're going to go to subtraction. And we're going to go ahead and move everything over. And I want just the cutter. That's the only thing I want. And we'll slide that over. Do you see how that's barely lit up? It's barely highlighted. So when we're moving stuff over, this is how it was. Both of those were highlighted. So we just click on it to unhighlight it, and then we can move over just the one piece that we want. And we're going to pay close attention here to see if it really does cut. It should, but let's go ahead and do it. Perfect. So you see how that's now
a dip.
A little dip, right? So that's what we wanted. So now, watch us get a little crafty here. So back over here, we've got to grab this and bring this back in. So that was our back plate, our sides, our flange, and our front bezel. Those are at 628, and we need those at 128. Bring them back over. Okay, so now those are back over. Now I know we can't see this the way this is currently oriented, but that piece, believe it or not, is sitting inside of this by 1 millimeter. I wish we had wireframe mode. That is something else I believe Creality has, where we can like see through this so we can see it a little bit better. But we did all this geometry in Inkscape, really, the way we set all this up. But watch what happens here. We're going to do a mesh bullion because what I want is I want a small recess in our sides that is going to accept this piece right here. So if I do a mesh bullion, we'll push everything over again. And we want just that piece right there. So it's one of these cylinders. I don't know which one. Looks like we got lucky on the first try. But nothing else is highlighted here. So, but now it's green. So now we know that that is what we need. But we have a problem because if we just did the bullion now, the bullion is also going to happen with these pieces. And I don't want that to happen. I only want our sides cut. So what we have to do is kind of back out and go back to what we just previously did. So these pieces, I'm just alt clicking them, go to the move tool. We'll set those at 628 and get those out of the way. And now we can just bullion the sides. So push everything back over here. Move that over. And now it's just going to cut into our sides. We are going to keep the originals because I still want that post. But we'll go ahead and choose execute. Now, we don't know if it actually did anything without moving that. So we're going to alt click and move it out of the way.
Oh, I see that hole already.
And you see there?
Yeah, like 1 millimeter into it.
Yeah. So now that's perfect. That's what we needed. And now we can bring this back over here. Now, I don't know if this is the most simplest way to do things. I don't know. It's just a way that I created because I didn't know any other way to do it. But at least now we have it exactly the way I wanted to on the bottom there. And so now we are good to go. Now, I did create us a bit of a problem in that we needed to do something similar to the top, but I got rid of my cutter. So my cutter is gone. So we'll have to make a new cutter. But luckily for us, it's not that big a deal to make. But yeah, so we need to repeat that process on the top. And we have to make a new cutter. So no worries. I need to take this call. So I'm going to mute you just for a minute. And let me answer this and I'll get back with you.
Okay.
False alarm. I did need to take that call. I thought I did. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we need to do something similar up top to hold our plate. And then we'll be pretty close to being done. We'll set up some print plates. All right, so up top, what do we got to do? Well, firstly, let's go ahead. Maybe we'll make our cutter again. So all our cutter was a circle, and we have this back plate. So we're just going to copy and paste. And when you copy and paste an object inside of an assembly, it just puts it right on top of the original, which is kind of handy in this particular situation. So we're going to go ahead and scale it, and all it was basically 2 millimeters smaller. So this was 123, and this was 123. That's really the only difference. And then this, so that was our cutter. You see, we're back to where we were at the beginning. Let me think. Yes, so what we're going to have to do again is we're going to have to move our back plate, and yeah, to start with, we're going to have to move the back plate, the sides, the flange, and the front bezel back out of the way again. So we'll set that to 628 and get it out of our way. Yeah, that's okay. We can do that. And then, let's see here. Let me think this through a second. Maybe I shouldn't do that. Let me back up. We'll back up to there. Let's get the post in there first, and then we'll figure things out from there. So let's go ahead and we'll add a primitive cylinder. And we're going to make that 37.5 by 37.5. Okay. And then height-wise, I don't know. We'll just leave that alone. And we'll position this at 128 and 128. That's the center of our build plate. And then we're going to shift control the assembly, right click and merge. We can't merge with this window open. So we hit the escape key and then we can merge. And that was our last cylinder right here. So we'll go ahead and just move it up. And I don't know how, if we hit control 1, that will allow us to look straight down at something, which is sometimes useful, but control 3 allows us to look straight at it. And so we could see visually, about how tall we want this to stick out. So I want it to be maybe something like that much. Okay. So there we go. So now we can bring in our cutter and we're going to whack the bottom of this off. So we already have the cutter, I believe. Let's go ahead and alt click this. Yes, there's our cutter piece. Let's go ahead and name it cutter. This will help us later when we do a mesh boolean, because we'll be able to spot it right away. We'll hit scale and we're going to just bring it out far enough where we can cut it. So then we're going to take our sides, our flange, our front bezel. We're missing a piece, our back plate. And let's put all that at 628. Now, what else do we got to get rid of? We got to get rid of these on the bottom, at least this one. Otherwise, our cutter is going to cut it. Probably wouldn't hurt it, but let's just go ahead and move it anyhow. So now the only thing our cutter can cut is just that one piece. So now let's go in and cut away. So we'll move everything over to the left. And see that's highlighted right there. So we click on it to unhighlight it. And there's our cutter. We'll move it over. So you see it turn green. It's going to cut the blue. We don't need the originals. Let's hope it cuts. And see, we have a nice little rounded piece now. So that's what we needed. So now we just bring over our pieces. So that is that piece. And what else? We need our sides. Then up top, we need our back plate, our flange, and our front bezel. All of that has to come back to 128.
28.
Okie dokie.
It's looking good.
It's coming together. All right. So now we just have our candle plate. So we can take our candle plate here and bring it over to this build plate. We're going to right click and center it. Everything else is centered too. So we can hit shift control, right click and merge. And now it's just our bottom two pieces, this piece and this piece. Okay. And we don't know where that is in the world. So we'll just go ahead and drag this up. This is a perfect case where we use our assembly tool. So we'll go ahead and select that, grab our assembly tool, select that face and this face, and zero those two out. Okay. And now we want to go ahead and grab this face. We'll back up here. So we want to select this bottom face and this face and line those two up. So that is essentially our completed piece.
Nice.
So now what we have to do is, I might just go ahead and delete this altogether. We'll go ahead and add a couple more build plates, and then I'll show you how I break this down into an actual print. So actually, there is one other small detail I forgot that we should go ahead and do, and that is we want a small depression on this plate so we know exactly where this plate sits in relationship to this post. And also, I don't remember that we actually checked. Let's see here. Yeah, we didn't actually do that either, now that I think about it. We did not make the little depression in our sides. So let's go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and alt click this. Let's call it post so we can find it more easily when we do that mesh boolean. So on the bottom, we cut into the sides, but we didn't do it up top. So let's go back to mesh boolean. Actually, let's do this. Let's move there's two parts here, the bottom plate and the sides. And let's just move that down 1 millimeter. So it's 171.39. Let's make it 170.39. So now it's moved down 1 millimeter. So now when we do our mesh boolean, it's going to cut into our sides and into our bottom plate here. So let's go ahead and do that. Push everything over. Make sure nothing's highlighted. And we're looking for post right there. So there is green. And so it's going to cut into our bottom plate and to our sides here. That's what we're hoping. We do need to keep the original. So let's go ahead and execute. So now we have to see if it actually did it. So alt click our post. We could see our cut there. And we do not see
But it didn't cut the bottom though.
Right. So no worries. We'll back up a couple steps. And let's go ahead and right click and fix the model. Anytime a Boolean operation doesn't happen like we expect it to, that's what we got to do. And now
you can see the hole on the bottom.
Well, our post moved is what happened. That's weird. Okay, I wasn't expecting that, but that's all right. We can probably fix that with our assembly tool. So we'll pick that. You got to get just the right angle though to pick that. Don't really like that, but so we're going to raise this up by 1 more millimeter. So that's 159.52. So it's going to be 160.52. And that should maybe get us. We'll see. So let's go ahead and do a mesh boolean again. Push everything over. And we want our post. We will keep the originals. Let's see what we get. We got our hole there, but we don't have our hole there. Well, that's frustrating. Okay, let's do this. Because we need that hole. I want that hole. Let's move this to What we got going on here? All right. So we're gonna take this and this and move it out of our way. So it's at 97. So we'll do 697. All right. So now I'm just going to be focused on this by itself. So here's what I'm looking for. I want to make sure that this is inside of this, like it's supposed to be. So let's go ahead and move this out so I can see how these two are interacting a little bit better. Okay. So you see what's happening there? This is exactly the same size. You see that there? And so I'm wondering what happened there.
The Pharaoh has ordered me to personally.
So I'm not exactly sure why that happened, but this should not be exactly the same size. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our back piece again, and we're just going to copy and paste it. We're going to resize this. So that is 123 already. That's really strange. Okay, well, let's scale it back out here. So let me look at it. So you see that right there?
Yes.
So what we want to do is we're just going to move that down 2 millimeters or 1 millimeter. Yes, we're going to move it down 1. Just to be safe, we're going to move it down. Let's go ahead and move it down 1.52. So this would be 50. Let's see here. It'd be what, 158?
You said 1.159, right?
Yes, you're right. 159. Yes, that's what I was thinking originally. But all right. So now you see how that piece is going to be cut by this, right? See, because we moved it down just a little bit, and that's what we want. So what we're going to do here, how best are we going to do this? I'll tell you what, you know what we're going to do? We're going to do something different. We're going to take our cutter and our piece that we're wanting to cut, and we're just going to move those out here. So now we can go ahead and cut this all by its lonesome here. So
that's the easier way.
Yeah, it's easier. So we'll flip-flop the two. And now we need this cylinder. So we don't need that post. We need, let's see. Let's tell you what, let's do. Let's find out what this piece is. That is
back plate.
We're going to call it cutter. Avoid the confusion. All right. So now we want that, but we don't want that. Now we just have the cutter. So now, I don't know if there's going to be a good way. Let's go ahead and keep the originals. That might be a good way to tell that if it really did cut. And then what we can do, if we slide this out, we can get a good look at it here. Yes, that has the same contour as our cutter. So now we know that that is cut the way we need it cut. So now we can go ahead and delete that, and we can go ahead and reposition this. And this is going to be positioned at 128 and 128. I thought, maybe not. I see this has got moved. Okie dokie. Well, I wasn't expecting that. But we can go ahead and move that into place. So that is 145.16. So we'll put that at 145.16. And then front to back, that is 98.19. 98.19. Beautiful. And then this, if I remember correctly, that already had the cut.
Yes.
So we didn't need to worry about that. But now we're back to here where we need to cut to our sides. So that's the next catch. So we're going to go to Mesh Boolean, push everything over. And we want just our post right there. We are going to keep the original. So we're going to go ahead and choose execute. Come on, give us what we need. Ta-da! We have our little cut into our sides. So a little bit of work, but we finally got there. So these two pieces, you can go ahead and bring those back over. So that is just at 97. All right, so now we have all of our pieces cut, all of our little indents made, all the little details to make it perfect. So now it's just a matter of setting up the build plates.
I have a question, Kevin, before you
Mhm.
do that.
Okay.
Like, I see the inside of that. What if you want to put something inside of that, a liquid or something, and you trying to put what you call it, a plastic, I forgot what you call it, to seal it in top. Do you make an indent, a round indent to put that inside of it like you did the back of it, just to put that the clear plastic on top of it to seal it if I'm trying to put something in it?
Are you talking about inside here?
Yeah, inside. If I'm trying to put stuff in the inside and I want to seal it in there.
Okay, well, here's what my thought is. A couple of things. Let's see. Let's take this away so you can see. So on the inside, we have this little flange, right? So what my thought is
Oh, we could do it from the inside.
what my thought is, let's say we wanted just this to be perfectly clear. All right. What we could do is back here in Inkscape, we could make another shape that is slightly smaller. So let's say like I want to have a piece of acrylic laser cut to fit perfectly inside, right?
Yes.
Then what we could do, like if you wanted to do something like that, is in Inkscape, we'll make another piece for the SVG file. So we'll have the exact size that we need to slide in there. But then we got this bezel here to glue it to. So if we wanted to glue it in place, then we could.
Because I have an ideal in my head, and I'm definitely gonna need that to seal in the front.
Yeah.
I do.
You're gonna make it into a fish tank?
I'm gonna make it into something awesome, but I need it to, my brain is out of the box right now.
All right. Well, that's good. Yeah. So anyhow, we'll set this up for our build plates, and then we'll go back in and add that one little piece of the puzzle. So we have that that geometry perfectly sized.
Gotcha.
All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and copy and paste this several times. It's what I usually do. I don't know exactly how many copies of this I'm gonna need, but generically, this is what I do. I'm just going to come in here and delete pieces I know I don't need for my first build plate. So we're going to get rid of all of this stuff. We're getting rid of everything but the front bezel and the sides.
Okay.
On this particular example. And let's see here. Let's see. What happened to my flange? Oh, there's my flange right there. Don't need that. So when I click this, all I should have is the front bezel and sides. Beautiful. And so you see we have our little indent up top for our post. And then, see here, we have our little indent on the bottom, which is perfect. That's what we needed. So now I can go ahead and select this and click on lay on face. And we're going to lay it face down. So no supports.
Okay.
Right? Well, actually, our little indent probably will actually require supports at the top, possibly. But other than that, we'll have no supports. So then on the next one, we'll just go ahead and get rid of everything but our top candle plate here. And you could select multiple pieces at once, just alt click, boom, boom, boom. So now you got this. Should that fit? Yep, both of these will fit on that plate. So now we got that and that. And we have to get rid of this. And we do have our little indent there on the bottom of that plate. So that's taken care of. So let's go ahead and get rid of all of this. I'm just randomly alt-clicking everything I know I don't need. And so this is good to go. This can print complete, just like it is. So the only last piece that I need then is my top post, I believe. Is that right? Got that. Oh no, I need my back plate too. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete everything. All this stuff can go. That can go. And that little fella is our little top piece there, but he needs to get flipped over. So we'll lay on face that one. So now he's flipped over. That's going to print correctly. And then all we need is our back plate. So we did wind up using them all. So there is a lot to making a little model, isn't there? A lot of moving parts.
But I'm learning a lot, and I can't wait. So when I get off, I'm going. I'm going to make this. So when you send me the video, I'm on it.
All right. So there's our back plate then, and so we should be able to slide that over there and slide this over here.
I have an idea of what I want to make.
Well, you know what's interesting to me is like when you learn how to make this, right? Then you can relate it to, oh, I could do the same thing with this and that and the other, so it's just kind of interesting.
And I understand the map part that you're doing, so that just makes sense to me.
And then if you need help, you always got your assembly tool to do the math for you.
I want to learn without the assembly.
So,
it just seems like it's so much quicker.
Yeah. Certain things can be quicker. Sometimes I get lost, and then it's like I don't want to calculate it. I'll just use the assembly tool.
At least it's there if you just want to do it real quick.
Mm-hmm.
You have, at least you have more than one option, so that's a plus.
Yep. So now we should have all of the pieces that we need for for this project.
So now we just got to go back in and do one more piece to insert it for when I seal it.
Oh, yeah. One thing we do want to do, it's not a bad idea, is this piece here and this piece here, both of these, we cut a hole, right? We cut a little indentation. And so usually what I'll do is I'll select this piece here and I will come over to the quality tab and we'll do an XY compensation of -1. And what this does is it'll make this 1 millimeter smaller than our indent.
Okay.
And so there, it'll just set right in there and set perfectly. And then same thing over here. This piece here will do the same thing because it needs to sit in that indent as well. So
Do we need to change the filling or anything for this, a particular filling, or it just standards? It doesn't matter.
no, whatever you want as far as the infill and what have you. No, I don't think we really need to do anything, but you can, you can change the settings up to whatever, if you, for example, if you want this to have a little bit more weight, right? Then you might add some.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking, because of what I'm doing. That's why I'm asking for the base for a little bit more. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. You might want to for the base if you want it a little heavy because it's just going to be the standard 15% infill. So if you want it a little bit heavier, you might change it to 50% infill or whatever.
So what I'm trying to do, I would change the infill to about 50.
If you want it heavier, yeah. If we look at it right now, see, you can see it's only at 15%. So yeah. So if you make it 40 or something, that will.
Do you think I need to change that, or it really doesn't matter for us to?
Well, let's see. Let's go ahead and slice this. It's going to be fairly light, because these pieces are thin. The rest of it is pretty thin. Okay. So let's go ahead and slice it and just see the difference here. So that's what I like to look at. So as we pull it down here, and so you see, that's what the standard 15% looks like, right? So if we switch that out, come back in here, and we change that to 40%, and then slice it, it'll show us the exact same angle. So see how much tighter that is?
Yeah, I think that would be more better.
For
what I'm doing.
Yeah. So that will give you just a little bit more weight, but you could see, and of course we don't have to use grid. They say to use gyroid or whatever.
So gyroid to be better with this?
Yeah, that's generally what they recommend.
Gyroid for most stuff.
Yeah, instead of grid. I don't know. I don't print a lot, but when I do print, I mostly use. But gyroid. You see how much how much tighter it is.
It's tighter.
Yeah. Now it's a lot, but I could say it's a lot more print time. So you may want to balance.
Right away, I like, that print out was definitely going up.
Yeah, but if you look at if you look at the total kilograms or grams used, so that's it. But if we go back to the grid, let's see how much, because that obviously will affect the weight of it too. So if you
it's only like 7 grams different. That's not that much.
That's interesting that it's the same weight.
Right. I'm like, that's not that much.
Okay, maybe stick with grid because look, it's literally almost.
I might well just stick with grid because I'm like, it didn't change that much.
Yeah, I was surprised that value didn't change, but yeah, so.
Okay, I would stick to grid.
Because it will save a lot of print time. Time is money. How many printers do you have?
One. I just bought one, but I know it's.
You had to be dying when you're doing that slouch chair.
Definitely gonna have to get another one. I just can't decide on. I know I got a P1S. I don't want another P1S. I know that for sure. I'm just deciding on what's the next one I would want that's gonna really give me the most benefit out of it without waste filament, without if you're gonna do it, do it. I'm just trying to figure out which one I want next.
So is there something you don't like about the P1S or?
No. I actually like it. Just a lot of filament. I mean, a lot of waste. I got
you. Well, I know a guy in Houston. He's got the snap maker, and that is supposed to cut down on wasted filament, and he really loves that printer. Like he gushes. I don't know. There's 2 different ones. It's not big. I know that. Like it's not Like it's not even bigger, I don't think, than my A1. My A1 is 256 by 256.
See, so I don't want that because I'm already at 256 on the PS1. So it's either gonna
Mhm.
be the same or larger.
I
Not small.
was, yeah, I was thinking about getting the new A2L.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
what everybody is talking about.
yeah, I was thinking about getting one. Just to like I said, I don't do a lot of printing right now, but who knows? I might. You know, like I said, I've only really been doing the Facebook group and designing. That barely even a month. So,
Right. And
so
that's what I said. I just got into this. Like I said, I don't even think I had my bamboo. The 27th will be a month of me having my printer.
oh, okay.
What's the date? Yeah, the 27th will be a whole month.
Well, you're
I haven't even had it a month yet.
you're printing some pretty epic stuff for only having it such a short period of time.
That's all I had it for. They
But
said
yeah,
you're gonna learn.
yeah, well, that's great. I mean, that's a great. Are you a Capricorn?
No, I'm a Virgo.
Oh, okay.
See, I'm
I,
unbalanced. See, I need to balance that out.
uh-huh. Well,
You know, it's the weight for me. See, I'm a scale. It's the weight.
uh-huh. Well, the reason I ask is Maya, with the 3D Trendsetter, she's a Capricorn. She's
Yeah,
born
she's a Capricorn.
a few days after I was, and we just have
Oh,
that.
both of y'all Capricorns?
Yeah, yeah, she was born a few days after I was.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
I think I was born on the 27th. Maybe she was born a few days before I was.
That
'Cause
is crazy.
I think she's the 20 something. But anyhow, but as Capricorns, we
I
like
mean,
to
the thing
go
about
big or go home.
afraid to go big and I'm not afraid to learn.
Hmm.
That's the thing about me. I don't mind jumping out there as long as I got knowledge of what I'm doing.
Hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah, well, that's a great attitude. Tackle those challenges
Yeah. I
for
don't want
sure.
to be stuck basic. It's so much than basic that you can learn.
Hmm.
You just got to take the time to willing to learn and not be afraid to learn.
Yep. Yep.
And that's how I'm approaching this.
Let me save this before we lose it.
Yes. Then we got to go back and do the insert for the back.
Yep. Yeah. Well.
Because I have a pretty idea. You're going to be surprised when I get this done. I'm going to surprise you with what I'm going to do with this.
All right.
Then you be like, my student did it.
Yeah, she did
All
it.
the way from scratch and from Inkscape
Yes,
on
she did.
down.
All right, so let's go back into Inkscape and take a look at what we got to take a look at here. So that was our cutter. So let's turn that off, and then we just got to back up here. What we need is probably just our sides. Yeah, let's go ahead and turn off everything but our sides. All right, so that's our sides right here. What else is there? Our front bezel. I knew something was not right. That's our sides. Okay, so our sides are 4 millimeters thick. So what we're going to do here is let's duplicate our sides, and then let's just turn that off so we don't get confused. So what we're going to do is we're going to break this apart, path and break apart. This outside is the outside, which we don't need. We need the inside. But this circle is exactly the same diameter as the inside of our sides. So we want this to be slightly less so it can slide in. So this circle you may want to play with a little bit, but if we just, so you see here, this was 116.980. So if we were to put that at just 116 by 116 here. Let's go, let's give it a different color, and let's turn back on our sides because we can see that it's not perfectly centered. See how it's off center now? Yeah. So we'll select them both, come to our alignment tools, and that way and that way. And now just got that little space all the way around. So that can act as, and remember, we have, let's go ahead and turn on our front bezel so you can see that too. But if we go into outline mode, you'll see this better. So this is our front bezel, okay? This is our new piece that we just created, and those two lines are our sides. So you see what I'm saying? So you've got this piece, you've got all that as your glue, your glue area. And of course, now, you know, that you kind of understand the process. If you wanted to break apart your front bezel, so if we just hit File and Break Apart, and you took this inside piece, if we hold Shift Control, when we scale it, it will scale from the center. So in other words, if you wanted a wider glue plate, you know, you have that option. You just make it bigger. So yeah, so you know, you can make that adjustment if you want to that front bezel and have a wider glue plate if you feel like you need it. You follow what I was saying there?
Yes.
Okay.
It depends on how big you want it, but I don't think it need to be too big. It's just enough to glue in the inside.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So yeah. So if you do you have a laser?
No,
No.
I'm thinking about getting one.
I got
But
you.
I heard 3D go hand in hand with lasers.
Yeah, it can. I mean, you can, you know, like especially like for this. Well, you know, also like if you're doing piggy banks, you know, the front that clear acrylic, you know, having the ability to cut that to the shape of whatever you're 3D printing, like, you know, if you did a dinosaur or
Well,
letter.
my Maker 3 cut out acrylic, so
Oh, okay.
yeah, the Cricut Maker 3 cut out acrylics.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just gonna use that to cut it out.
Oh, all right. How thick acrylic can you cut with that?
I think it's 3, if I remember.
Oh, 3mm. Okay.
It might be 3. I'm not for sure. I ain't done it in so long.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I didn't realize that.
Let me see what size. Let me Google it real quick. Let's say the cut thin paper acrylic sheets up to 0.5 millimeter, 0.02 inches thick.
Okay.
So it could be 1/8 or 3 millimeter, like we said. It cannot. Oh well, no, it cannot cut the standards craft or laser of a 3 millimeter. So that's still not bad. So I guess it's like 1 inch it could cut out, up to 1 inch.
All right. So what I'm doing here is I'm finding us a lamp. There's our lamp. I like this lamp. So I'm just gonna grab a little snippet of my lamp here. And we're gonna copy it to the clipboard. I'm gonna show you one last little piece de resistance. So we're gonna paste our lamp in here. And what we're going to do here is we're going to grab our pen tool. And let's see here. First of all, I think I want this much bigger. So let's do something like that. All right. So we've got our sample image here. We're going to grab our pen tool. And I'm just going to pick a spot. I'm going to pick, let's see here. Yep, I'm going to pick this one right here. So we're going to click there. And all I did was hit the B key on my keyboard, or you can grab your pen tool over here. And so we're going to click there, and we're going to click here, and we're going to click here.
I printed out a shortcut sheet for this.
Oh, uh-huh. So there's no right or wrong here. We're just kind of using this image as a guide.
Okay.
But what I'm doing is I'm clicking various points where the curve changes. And you know, this is just something, a little thing you can experiment with and have some fun with.
Okay.
So we're gonna click here, click over here, maybe click there, come back in here, here. We're gonna go straight down, and then we're gonna go straight across. So now we got that going on. And then we're gonna add to it up top here and come straight across also. So that looks really strange, right? So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna get rid of the fill by clicking on this button and then shift click any one of these colors to add a stroke. And if for some reason you don't see your stroke, you can come over here and to stroke style and make this bigger. So see, now it's really bold. So sometimes you add a stroke and you can't see it. You have to add a value to it over here.
Okay.
But then we're going to go to our node tool. So I just hit the N key, or we could grab our node tool right here. Or if you want to, you could just double click. So if you're in the selection tool and double click, that'll take you into the node tool. But what we're going to do is we're just going to
We shaping our lamp to the object.
make little adjustments.
Oh, that's nice.
And you know, you can make it whatever you want to make it. Doesn't have to match the original necessarily.
Right, but it give you a good idea.
Yeah, it gives you a good starting point. So I'm just kind of making it up as I go here.
Yeah, at this point.
Going up, going down. We can also delete that if we don't want that one. And then we have our control handles. We could really get particular. Okay, so let's just say I want to do something like that. Then what we're going to do is, let's go ahead and double click on it.
You just duplicate it and flip it for the other side, right?
Well, actually, we just need what we're going to do for what we're wanting to do. We just need half of it.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to double click here, grab my pen tool, and we're just going to come down and we're going to kind of close this off. So then we're going to take that and add it to this, and we're going to combine. So path and combine. And then right here, where we combine those two paths together, we're going to join those nodes and these nodes. Now, we should be able to fill this like so. And then we're going to take a rectangle, and we're just going to whack it off here. So shift click this, and then control minus. And this is what we're left with right there.
Nice.
So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just copy it, and then we'll start a new document, and we're going to paste it. Now, when we go into Blender, we don't want solids, so we just want paths like that. So we'll go ahead and save this file, save as to the desktop, and let's just call it candle litho outline. And I'll give you this SVG file too, just so you have it so you can play with it a little bit.
Okay.
But now we'll go into Blender. Have you ever played around in Blender at all?
No.
Do you have it on your computer?
No, but I would download it.
Yeah, it's totally free, so might as well. Because it does some really easy, fun stuff. So to start with, I'm going to make a new plate for the top of our piece. And so we're in Blender. This is object mode.
What exactly is Blender?
it's a 3D modeling software,
Okay.
but it's like the most widely used 3D modeling software. It does the most amazing things. Like if you go on YouTube, you'll be absolutely bewildered and lost at what you can do in Blender, because Blender is even used like in movies that you see in the movie theaters. It does animation and all kinds of incredible things.
Okay.
Now, for what we need about 5, 6 things in Blender. We don't really need all these tools, but it is pretty crazy what you can actually accomplish in Blender. Really neat things, really neat things. Let me show you a video that I think you should like if you just want to like, ooh, hey, that's badass. But there's a video. Let me find it. So if we go onto my channel here, and I believe this is a public playlist. It's Blender for 3D printing. But no, let's see here. Those are my Blender videos. Blender, this is the one. But let's see if I can find it real quick here. So I'm pretty sure this is public to you, so you should be able to see these videos. But you were interested in doing sculpting work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Blender does have the donut tutorial is a good one. Shows you how to do sculpting. But there's several in here. The goal,
PNG and turn it into a sculpture.
yeah. The goldfish is a good one. It's an hour long, but he walks you through every step of sculpting the goldfish.
Okay.
So that's a good one. But there's obviously a million different videos on Blender, and there's some really good ones. Let's see if I can find it though. I forgot what the there it is. There's my beauty.
Ice cream blended truck. Okay.
So he's showing you how to make this truck, and this is only, I think the whole video is not very long, like maybe 20 minutes or so. But he's showing you how to, from the very, very beginning, making the wheel, and then he's showing you how to make the truck, right? And he's making the truck and all the little tricks, rounding the wheels, all those little things. And then he's showing you how to put in the headlights. And then he shows you how to do the cone on top and turn it into an ice cream cone. And then right there, he's showing you how to make all the little drips to make it look like ice cream. And so now you can see it's really coming together. But then he goes crazy, and he's showing you now he's going into the lighting aspects where he's actually lighting up the model. He's making the waffle cone there. But as he gets further along here, he's showing you how to put all the paint on the model and then actually lighting up the headlights.
Oh, that is so cool.
See there?
Now,
And of course, for us, for 3D printing, we don't care about, the headlights lighting up and stuff. But
that is
if you were creating a 3D model, like with the wings, right? And you wanted to show people this is what it would look like lit up, or even a potential customer or something, you actually have the ability of Blender to actually light up your model, and you could see how realistic it looks. It's
wow.
But like I say, I think this whole video is not even a half hour long.
Okay.
But this guy, he has other Blender courses you can buy that are a little bit more expensive, like a couple $100, like really in-depth ones. But this is just one of his videos. I thought, yeah, the way he presents it in a way where you watch that video a couple of times and you're like, fucking A, man, I could fucking do that. Like you walk away believing you could actually do the same thing. Now, I haven't taken the time to try to do that, but I, in my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, I understand exactly what this guy's doing. So, how sometimes you can watch a tutorial and be so bored by it, but this one, kept my attention. I've probably watched it 4 or 5 different times, from beginning to end.
That's nice.
Just because it is that good of a video. But back to our task here.
Insert.
Yes. So anyhow, we're gonna create our little top plate. So we're in Blender, and if we hit Shift A, that allows us to add stuff to Blender. We can also click the Add menu up here, and we're going to add a mesh, and we are going to add a circle mesh. So there is our circle mesh. And then if we hit the N key on our keyboard, we can define how big a circle this is. So right now it's 2,000 millimeters, which is a little bit big for our project. So we need 125. And we need 125. That's how big that plate was. So let's zoom in here. So we zoom in and out with our wheel mouse. That's how we zoom in and out. And we rotate by clicking down on the center wheel. Okay, and then we shift click and our center wheel to pan. So center wheel to rotate, shift click to pan, and then we could zoom in and out with the center wheel as well. So that's how we navigate. Okay, so there is our 5-inch circle. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go into edit mode. So we're in object mode. So we tab, and that takes us into edit mode. And we hit A, that will select everything here. And then we can hit F to add a face. Okay, so now we've added a face. And then what we can do is we can extrude. So E to extrude. And see how we can extrude. Now, if yours is doing this, where you can extrude any which way, we can constrain the extrusion to the Z direction by hitting Z. So normally we would just hit EZ. Like if we know we're going to extrude in the Z, we could just hit E and Z on our keyboard, and then we can extrude. And then we can decide how much of an extrusion we want. So what we normally would do is just extrude it and then come over here, and in the Z direction here is type in 4, because in this case, our bottom plate, right, of our candle holder is just going to be 4. And then we can go ahead and continue on our extrusion here. So we're going to go ahead and keep going here. And I think I want 8 millimeter sides, I think or maybe I did 12. I don't know. Let's just do 12. So we'll extrude again. And then this time we'll just type in 12. So we just did 12. And then what we could do is an insert. So see how we're bringing those in now? And we can just whatever we want. And then we can extrude down. Whatever amount we want to. So now we have this kind of plate going on. Now in Blender, there's 3 different ways to select things in edit mode. We can be in vertex mode, we can be in edge mode, or we can be in face mode. So for our next step, we want to be in edge mode. And then we can just double click. And now that selects that entire edge. And then we can come over here, shift, double click. And now you can see we have this entire edge selected. And then we're going to shift, double click the inside edge right here. So now we have all three of those edges selected. So we're going to go to Control B, which allows us to bevel. Oh, let's see what we got going on here. If we tab out of here, so you see now how we just kind of have a little bit of a rounded edge there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into edit mode, and on this bottom edge, we're going to select it. And right here under this crease option, we're just going to set that to 1. Because the next step that we're going to add, we don't want that bottom edge to be messed with, I don't think. So if I go back into object mode here, we're going to add a modifier, which is done with our little wrench icon. And all we're going to do is this subdivision surface. And we're going to pump that up to 3. And so now that gives us a nice little smooth plate. And it just has a small radius there, there, and there. It's not sharp like it was when we're in Inkscape. But that bottom edge is left intact because we creased it there. So I will just go ahead and save this. So we can save it to the desktop, and we'll call it candle plate. We'll save it. And then if we want to export it as an STL to the desktop, and we can export it as an STL. And then if we want to import it here into Bamboo, I'll just hit Control I. They'll say yes. We're going to convert it to millimeters. So there's our plate. Ready to print.
And that's the plate for the inside.
That would be in place of our candle plate.
Okay.
So yeah. So we could.
So that's the candle plate. Okay.
Yeah. So now let's go back in.
It's much smoother.
Yeah. So what we can do, we can even go even more extreme. So I'm just going to run through that one more time. So Shift A to add a mesh, and we could just go ahead and we could add a mesh cylinder if we wanted to. So now this time we added a cylinder. So we'll go ahead and make it 125 by 125 by let's do 16 maybe, I don't know. So this one is 125. So now we have a cylinder. G allows us to pick it up and move it if we want to move the cylinder. And then remember, if we go into edit mode, we tab into edit mode, we have these 3 options. We're going to go to the face selection. So we select that top face, and then we'll hit I to insert. So let's see, let me zoom in here a little bit. So we have our face selected, and then we can inset, extrude. We have that. And then we're going to go ahead and go back to edge select mode, double click this edge, shift, double click this edge, and then Control B to add a bevel. And then we can double click here and Control B, and we can add a bevel to it as well.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so you got lots of things we can do in Blender. Now, if I go back to my candlestick thing that we were making, we can import that SVG file. So we'll import our SVG. It was on our desktop, and it was called Candle Litho Outline. So there is what we created. Now, when we insert this, over here, you see that little weird symbol there? That indicates it's a curve. And for what we want to do is we want a mesh. So we can right click and we're going to convert to a mesh. And now you can see that that has changed to look like that. We're going to rotate this. And I guess we're going to rotate this. Let's see here. Do I want would it be the Y direction? No. I guess, let's see here. We're going to rotate this in the, yes, just leave it like that. No. So I guess what we're going to do is rotate it, but in the Z direction. 90. There we go. All right, so I want it in this direction, and G allows us to pick it up and move it. Now, do you see this little dot here?
Yes.
That is the object origin. Now, this is one thing in Blender that even still confuses me to this day. But basically what we want to do is we're going to stand this up, but I really want this to be right there at that corner. So to do this, we're going to have to go into edit mode here, and we're going to be in vertex selection mode. So we could select that vertex, and then we are going to, let's see here, we have to set this piece here to that selection. So let me, no, let's see here. Now I got to remember which one it was. Let me pull up my little cheat sheet here. Shift S. I knew it was something like that. So, all right. So I have my vertex selected. Shift S. And we're going to cursor to selected. So now you can see that that 3D cursor is set to that point. So that's a good first step. And then we have to take that little orange dot and put it to the 3D cursor. So we're going to, let's see if we do Shift S again here. Let's see here. We're looking for origin. Nope, we don't want any of those. So we'll go back to object mode. Coming here to object, set origin to 3D cursor. So now that orange dot has been moved to here, which is what we needed. So now we're going to rotate this up in the vertical direction. So, so that would be basically be in the Y direction. And we'll just type in Y and then 90. And so now you can see this is basically standing up on end. And that's what we want. So now we can go back into edit mode, hit A to select everything. And then down here, we have our spin tool. And now we could just spin this all the way around. And we're going to say we want to spin it 360 degrees.
Okay.
So now,
that's
now you see it is definitely segmented, but that's where the modifiers come into play. So we'll add a modifier, and we'll add this subdivision surface. And usually 3 gets the job done. But you see all those little indents that I made in Inkscape, that's what making all those changes did to this. So now I can go ahead and I'm just going to export this as an STL. And we'll just call this candle base. Then we come back over here. There it is. Yes.
Oh, that's pretty.
And then obviously, now we didn't scale this, in Blender.
Right.
So it is what it is. But what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use my cut plane tool, and we could chop this. I'm going to chop it right there. I'm going to chop it off right there. So we'll choose cut to parts and perform the cut. And then I can just whack that second one off, right? And then that could be our base instead of, that clunky thing there. So, and we could even come in here and, if we didn't want, we cut it off down here. And so that whole top piece, we can get rid of it. And then we can scale this to 125 by 125. And so now this is the same size as our original base, but you can see it'll look a lot better, it has a little bit fancier of a design to it. So that's where Blender comes in. Allows us to do all kinds of fun stuff. But yeah, Blender has a sculpting mode. So up here, if you choose sculpt mode, you can come in here with all kinds of different brushes. And if you watch that that fish tank one, or that goldfish one, he does a really good job of showing what you can do with it. You can come in here. We'll make this smaller, make the strength more, but then you can come in here and crank up our strength. So it's like clay. You could use all these different tools and just be able to morph this stuff however you want to. This will make but yeah, it's really kind of interesting how all these things, you can just play around with them and make them into all kinds of different things.
Nice.
So yeah, so you could just play and do all kinds of, and there's all kinds of brushes that can be added to this. But yeah, you can see how you can.
You're right. It's like you're playing with clay.
Mm-hmm. You can just, but that donut tutorial is a pretty good one because it shows you how to do some pretty cool stuff. But what some of the different brushes do and stuff. So yeah, it's definitely. But it's just like you're modeling with clay, just doing it digitally. So it's pretty fun. But there's a lot of really good sculpting videos on Blender on YouTube too. So that's it. That's.
I have a question. So how do you bring the insert into for the base?
What do you mean?
The insert, the round insert we did for the put in the inside of it, the insert. Did we bring that one in? For me to cut the insert that goes in the inside?
Oh, well, that's let me get back to that file. So that is in this file. So let's see here. That is this piece. So let's name that. We'll call it inside frame, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's that piece. So in other words, if we wanted to, I'm just going to copy and paste it. So that is the piece that we would that will fit inside the frame. So if we were gonna and this brings up a good point, because you said you wanted to use it as a for potentially for a lithophane, right?
It could be either one, a lithophane or either what I was trying to do when I fill it up, either one.
Yeah. So if we were going to do it for a lithophane, the lithophane maker is going to create a square, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what we would do is we would take this shape and a rectangle, and we're going to combine those two. So it's going to look like this. Let's see here. So this here, we're going to reverse. Yes. So imagine, so we're going to take our lithophane into bamboo, and then we're going to take this shape into bamboo. Okay. And then we're going to give this a thickness, let's say 8 or 10, something like that. And then so what we're going to have to do in bamboo is we're going to have to do a mesh bullion of the lithophane. So our lithophane is going to be square. This will be our cutter. And so it's going to cut our lithophane to be circular. So it just slides right in the hole.
Okay.
Follow me?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's going to take some time, because, you know, those lithophanes, it shouldn't be that bad because it's not that big of a lithophane.
Right.
But that will take a little bit of time, because you know, there's a lot of triangles. You know, there's a lot of details in lithophanes in general.
Right. So the insert, how thick do that be for the inside once we bring it into the bamboo, the frame part to put in the inside of it? How thick do we need to make that?
Well, it could be whatever you want it to be. You know, you have depth. You have 3 inches deep here.
Okay.
So there's really
just bringing a circle in for what we made it depth, and then it's up to us how thick we want the depth.
Yeah. So for like example, let's just say we were going to laser cut, you know, for our light box, right? So you might have 3 or 4 thicknesses of plywood to create our scene, you know. So so you have 3 inches of depth to play with. So yeah, how thick your insert is really whatever you want it to be. So there's really no, you know,
no right or wrong. So we just, when we bring it in, just write insert, and it's up to you.
Yeah.
How thick you want that to be. Once we bring it into bamboo, just put it off to the side. It's just right. This is insert. Then we okay.
Yep.
So did we bring that into bamboo? No, I don't think we brought that into bamboo.
No, we didn't bring it in. No. So I'm going to send you this file, so that you'll have that piece is right here. Okay. You have this profile. This is your litho cutter that you would bring in. And so what we would do is we would turn everything off, and then we just have this piece. You could save just this piece by itself, so that if you want to just bring in this one piece into bamboo, you could, without bringing in all this other stuff. So for example, we could put this on its own layer, and we'll just call it, we'll call that, double click on the layer, and we'll call it litho cutter. Okay. So we can, on layer 1 here, we can just turn all that stuff off. So when I save this as an SVG file, so if we hit save as, and this will be your litho cutter. So when we bring this into bamboo, so let's just say, for example, that this was our lithophane here. So we'll make it like that. Maybe not quite that big. It was something like this. And we'll make this. So we'll say that that was our lithophane, right? That's what we made in the lithophane maker. And then we bring in our litho cutter. There's our litho cutter, right? And we can just select that and then control click our lithophane. Let's see, how would that work? Let's see here. We should. Why is that not going into mesh boolean? Maybe we have to merge those two together. I don't know.
Is it because it's over the plate?
It shouldn't be.
Oh, okay.
So now the green is gonna cut the blue. We'll go ahead and, so it didn't do it. So what we have to do in that situation is fix the model. And then slice. So again, the green is, we have two of them. I guess we can do it that way. But you see, now it cut. So now that would just leave a round lithophane that would fit perfectly in our frame over there.
And then
But-
if you bring the insert in, how does that work? We just put it in the inside. Once we do the circle, we cut it out on our laser cricket, whatever we're doing, and it just show you the size, the thickness, what it should be. The circle.
Right. Yeah, that circle, yeah. And of
what-
course, in
what
order
was
to
the circle?
in order to put this in, we have to take our back off, and then we'd have to insert it from the back.
Yes.
So
And what was the thickness on the circle? What did we do it as?
this one,
Was that the insert?
yeah,
That's
this is the insert.
Okay, so that could be either one, the litho or the
Yeah,
cutter. Okay, that's what I was asking. It could be for either or, right?
right.
Okay, that's what I was making sure. I thought that's
Yeah.
what you were saying.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
where it go?
oh, I just deleted it. You want it in there?
I was trying to see what size was that.
Like in diameter,
Yeah.
it is 116
Okay.
by 116.
So is that just a cylinder, or is that just we have to do it with both the square and that to cut it?
Well, in this case, like I was using the example of, I'm just going to back up here. I was using the example of, so when you make your lithophane, it's going to become in square or rectangular, right? From the lithophane maker.
Mm-hmm.
But then we want to cut it to be
Okay.
round to fit in there. And that's where the cutter came into place. So
Okay.
because it had the, so where is that?
Size
Right here.
if we need it.
It had the perfectly sized circle ready to go.
Okay, I understand. So it's already together.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we can see here. These two are together. So that's our cube and our cutter. Yep. And then I don't know why. This has a weird, I don't think I've ever seen that before. This weird little icon there. I don't think I've ever seen that before. I don't know. Oh, because I must have, okay. I see what happened. When I inserted this, when devil's in the details, when I inserted this, so let me back out here. When I imported an SVG, I had that selected, and so we can't do that. We can't have it selected, and because it acts differently.
Okay.
So that's what it was. So now if I select them both, now I can merge them together, and then I can come in and use that cutter and cut. But then this is now, see, it didn't cut,
Right.
which it didn't the last time either. So we have to fix the model, and then it should cut.
Okay, that make perfectly sense.
Yeah. So, all right. So let me go ahead.